Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Short Answer. I am speaking to you on Facebook Live. I am speaking to our community at large, and I'm speaking to a live audience here all at the same time. So I'm multitasking here in an amazing environment. There are a group of fantastic people sitting here in my home with me, and we're doing a small group treatment intensive in these 3 days, and we are diving so deeply into the most rich, real conversation and building circuitry for the full-on expression of that deep conversation in people's lives. And in the midst of this day, as I start to bring my attention also to the fact that we're going to be doing the short answer this evening, I start kind of contemplating what would be a valuable conversation, what would be a relevant topic that is kind of juicy and kind of on a roll right now. And I really felt like this embodiment of the true self was a hot topic in this moment. So know that you're being held by a group of people right now that are just bursting at the seams with some new revelations, some new versions of themselves that they're coming into contact with and having just a deep and wonderful, rich experience. And so this is something that came up. Oftentimes people want to know, how do I anchor and ground the revelations that I'm having? How, when I learn something new or read something in a book or hear someone speak and hear of just an awesome idea that feels so true that that everything else could just fall away, and it just seems to jump off the page in a book that I'm reading, or it just resounds in my ears once I've heard it in a conversation or a speaker saying something that just, man, you just know. And you know that it's resonating with something deeply within in a way that matters really more than anything. How do I then take that and not forget it, first of all, right? Because like 10 minutes later, half the time you don't even remember what that amazing, awe-inspiring sensation was. How do I take that and roll out into my life with that, staying top of mind, staying as part of my filtering system through which everything moves, through which everything flows, so that I interpret my own thoughts from this higher perspective, and I interpret my life circumstances in the outer world from this perspective, and it just keeps becoming real over and over and over again, proving itself, showing me an additional way that it will reveal itself, allowing all of this to just become the wholeness of my life experience. And so I want to just tap into this idea that what you anchor and what you integrate and what you ground, remember this conversation today? We were talking a little bit about this, that it's all the same thing. That sometimes people think in order to ground something, it means I have to take it into my root chakra, and I have to jump up and down, or I have to go drumming, or I have to go lift weights, or I have to go onto the yoga mat, or I have to find some way to physically ground myself. And what I also want to encourage us to understand is that grounding also means integration. That when you truly integrate something, you are actually grounding it. And it becomes a working, living, true part of you on an ongoing basis. And so you may find, those of you that are in the coursework, you're going to know this in an instant. When I say take it to the body, you're going to know what I mean. And when I say do the work then thereafter, you know what I mean. And what we're doing is bringing the attention into the body in an area that is activated under certain circumstances, and we learn how to identify what an activation is, and then we know to breathe through that area in a specific way inside the central core channel of the body in a way that allows us to begin to feel our way into a connection between these multiple areas of the central channel all at the same time. Now, what this means is that we get to feel ourselves integrating our truth, our love, our power, our wisdom, our physical stamina, our visionary capacity, and our divine self all at the same time. When we build the circuitry to allow ourselves to access all of these various versions of ourselves, what happens is we ground and anchor ourselves as the spirit being that we are all the way here to the physical dimension. So grounding doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go get physical, although going and getting physical is certainly a very effective way to begin grounding yourself. But integration is more important than anything else that we will ever do. So you might find that you end up doing work in your throat chakra area because that relates to your ability to manifest yourself here fully and wholly. It relates to your ability to speak your truth, of course, without hesitation. When it is integrated, that truth is spoken through love, and so it can be received, and it can be perceived by you as a good thing. It was a good thing. It worked because it was filtered through love, and when I spoke my truth, it came out with love and compassion. Also, working at this throat chakra level enables us to also hear the messages of this divine, conscious, cosmic reality that we're living in that is always supporting our awakening and our unfolding. It begins to allow us, when we're open at the throat chakra, for instance, it also begins to allow us to perceive what is happening in our lives as support, instead of something to fight against or to rise up against or to run away from or to deflect. Instead of doing that, when we build enough circuitry, we begin to perceive the whole of life, always, only, ever, delivering an additional way for us to sense and feel the support that is here for us and to act in accordance, in collaboration, in a fashion that allows a symmetry to occur, that allows a synchronicity to occur, because it's always trying to happen through your life experience. So when we ground, we integrate. When we integrate, we ground. When we anchor, we integrate and ground. And when we ground, we anchor and integrate. I want us to start to look at these three concepts interchangeably, because while they have specific distinctions, they're each going to allow us to land inside this body, allow a relaxed sensation inside the body, but allow a focused flow at the central channel of our being that allows us to take this infinite amount of energy that the entire universe is made of, and compressing and compressing and compressing and compressing that universal field of energy into a stream of consciousness that we are, allows us to begin to sort it out, to begin to make sense out of this infinite possibility. So when we're trying to make decisions, when we're trying to anchor and land something that we've just come into contact with, some revelation, some realization, something that feels so true and good, if we want that to start to come to life in our lives, we have to anchor it, we have to own it, we have to embody it. And so the work of the energy codes, as you know, is 100% about embodiment. Because enlightenment isn't enough. It isn't enough for us to just learn these principles. We have to embody them. We have to recognize that we are the sacred space that is supposed to allow all these conflicting ideas and thoughts that we have, all these energies and projects that we want to engage in, all these desires that rise up in us that seem to be disconnected in some way. Our job is to hold the sacred space for all of those things to rise, and for us to then become the alchemist that allows that rising to happen in a unified fashion, where multiple energies come together and rise as the one that we choose to be. So that requires you opening to this central channel. It requires you allowing all of the various aspects of your being to be held in a sacred presence. And as that happens, we begin to integrate them with each other. We begin to allow the fact that sometimes I feel so loving and compassionate, so tender, and I cherish life, and I see the beauty of it and the richness of it. And it almost brings tears to my eyes, or it does bring tears to my eyes, in the fact that I'm in the face of this amazing possibility that is life itself. And then there are other times where I feel like laser clear and I want to be making distinctions and being certain and asserting my wisdom and my intelligence forward in the life and into the life experience and making a difference in the world. And then sometimes I feel like I'm just deeply wise. I don't really have to do anything. I don't really have to prove anything. I don't really have to go make a difference. I just know that in right time, everything unfolds. And it will all surface as it's intended to surface, when it's intended to surface, and it's all in divine order. And sometimes I can speak my truth, and other times I feel like I can't access that. And what integration and grounding and this anchoring that we're speaking about allows us to do is get all of those parts of us that show up in all these different ways to collaborate, to be compatible, to allow them to support each other, so that when you come forward with compassion and you're asserting what you know, that your efforts in the world can be better received because of the love vibration that they're now traveling on. And if you add wisdom into that mix, you're going to know when it's time to speak into something and when it's time to just hold the space and allow another person to work through what they need to work through. And you don't feel compromised in that moment that you didn't get to speak your truth because you're coming from a wisdom, love, and empowered place in an integrated fashion that allows you to know your wholeness, even if in this given moment you're not able to express your brilliance. Perhaps your brilliance is expressing itself just because you're able to hold that sacred space without feeling the need to make a comeback or the need to chime in or the need to demonstrate everything that you are in that moment. Perhaps holding silence in that moment is the demonstration of your brilliance and your power and your loving presence all at the same time. So when we talk about grounding and integrating and anchoring, I want us to get that what it really means is that we're stepping into the full ownership of all of our faculties, all of our capacity, and we're giving them space and equal opportunity to be the card that we play in this moment, or the card that we play in this moment, or a different card in this moment. And when we have the wherewithal to be able to draw from our various faculties at the right time in the right place and to know that, then we are unlimited in the number of circumstances that we can feel a sense of belongingness, a sense of leadership, a sense of companionship and compatibility, a sense of loving presence, no matter what. When we're doing that, we are anchoring, we are integrating, we're allowing the wholeness of our being to rise up in its magnificence. And when that happens, we are truly a transformative power on the planet. Sometimes the greatest differences that I make are to say nothing. I might be in a situation and an individual is working through something, and if I simply allow them to work through it, and I'm holding this gracious, loving space that is, in part, my rootedness, my knowing that everything is in divine order here. I'm also coming from wisdom in this place where I'm just providing nurturing presence for them. I'm in a powerful position because I know that there's nothing that needs to happen in this moment for transformation to occur other than just breathing love into the space while an individual is exploring what they're trying to articulate, what they're trying to put together. And in that, when I take no action, I'm taking a brilliant action. And that is a demonstration of integration, that all of my resources are working together instead of one of them overpowering another in a non-integrated, non-anchored, or non-integrated version of myself. So the invitation is this: to own something, pay attention to all of the parts of you. Give all of the conflicting ideas that run through your mind a place to have sacred space, for them to all be accepted and embraced, knowing that at the right moment, at the right time, you'll know which one of those things to pick up and offer into a circumstance or offer into your own solution of a project that you're working on, or trying to come up with some answer that you're working with, a question that is in the forefront of your mind. allow the anchoring to represent ownership as much as it does a physical anchoring, but also allow yourself to remember this most important thing as it relates to the energy codes. Involve your body in this new revelation that you're experiencing. If you take your attention to the body and you allow yourself to come into the core, drop down into yourself so that you can feel and breathe the spaciousness and the warm, loving presence that you are, be in the body when you're actioning these new revelations out into the world, and you will find that the world will welcome those new ideas in a way that they didn't before. So expressing your true self happens gracefully when you're coming from an in the body, an embodiment standpoint, and you're breathing this loving presence up and down the central channel. So I'm hoping that this little conversation is helpful for you and can move you forward this week in a way that perhaps brings a new depth and breadth to your very experiences, whether they're intimate friendships, relationships, or in the workplace, or in your community at large. Most importantly, in the relationship between the mind, the body, and your own breath. So if you're interested in plugging in to the masterclass, we're chiming into that for the community. If you want to know how do the people on Facebook get into the masterclass? How can they do that? How can they do that? If people are on Facebook and they want to join us in the masterclass, how are they going to do that? They go on the website, and they do what? drsuemorter.com. And then what? Go to the store, go to the gold membership, and in that, it's going to plug you into a place where you can join us for the masterclass. And every month, we engage in a deep, rich conversation, and it is spurred by people in an audience, wherever I am in the world, tossing questions into the mix. I put the questions on a flip chart, and I answer them all at once in one fantastic conversation that thrills me to ride the wave of all these ideas coming together, and we plug into that on a monthly basis. And those of you that are in the community already, perhaps you're just joining us for the short answer. If you're doing so through the internet experience, then there's a sheet, there's a page in front of you. You click on the button below and join us for the masterclass, and we will be starting up in just a few moments. Facebook Live, around the world, we love you. Thanks for joining in, and we'll talk to you guys, and whoever of you wants to join us, we'll be back in just a few moments for the masterclass. Bye-bye, everyone. Namaste.